Do not attempt to adjust your screen. This is seriously what I'm looking at. I got the coolest Happy Mail today, and it is from Resiners. They sent me their 2-gallon kit of their new epoxy resin. Seriously. A gallon of B, a gallon of A, and these things are so huge, I literally have my camera as high as it'll go, and it's barely topping these 2 bottles. Now, oh God! So here's what it looks like. Now, one thing that I think is super cool, and I don't know if you guys are going to actually be able to see the difference on screen, but I'm going to do my best. Do you see the difference in colors of the bottles? A is white or clear, and B is gray. So you can tell the difference between the bottles. Now, with these, they also send you caps that are color coordinated. Gray for B, white for A. And the coolest part about these caps is they're like laundry detergent. So it's got the little drainy bit, so if any resin gets in the little rim, it'll just drain back into the bottle so it's not dripping down the bottle. Genius. So what I'm going to do is I am going to install the caps and get everything together, and then we'll go over specifics. So stay tuned. Alright, so I've got 6 ounces of this Resiners 1-to-1, 3 of A, 3 of B, of course, because it's 1-to-1. And I'm just mixing it up, and you see I'm mixing pretty, I mean, not aggressively, but you know, fairly quickly. And one thing that I am noticing is the distinct lack of big bubbles. The viscosity is medium. It's not super thin. It's not super thick. It's just a basic medium viscosity, which is nice compared to my go-to, you know, how much I love my regular 1-to-1 resin. Very comparable viscosity. I'm not going to put this through my Debubbler because I just kind of want to see how it does on its own, you know. The debubbling ability of the resin itself. Now, of course, the instructions say to, you know, leave it sit for a few minutes after mixing it up, and we'll go through all this. So that's what I'm going to do, and while it's sitting and degassing for a few minutes, we can go through the instrucciones. So I'm going to leave that sit for a second. So here's the user manual. Specs: crystal clear, bubble free, self-leveling, yellow resistant, low odor, no VOC, mold friendly, 1-to-1 by volume, working time 40 minutes, Demold 8 hours, cure time 24. Basic safety information. Stir it slowly for at least 3 minutes, no swirls. Let sit 3 to 5 minutes before using. Humidity. Okay, that's one thing that I was looking for is number 6. For molds, please do not pour over 1 inch at a time. And do not cast for less than 3 millimeters. Okay? 6% color liquid colorant adding. Okay. So, good stuff. And what I'm going to be using here is a jar mold, essentially a lidded, bowl. And this is for 2 reasons. One, you get a good representation of how it's going to look in a curved mold versus, and also a flat mold. Since lots of us make coasters, lots of us make trays, things like that. So I figured a good representation would be to do both in one project at the same time. So that's what I'm doing. It looks like this is debubbling itself very well. It's not heating up super fast. It's, without a debubbler, it looks good. Just, I'm not upset with the amount of bubbles. They're very small. It looks like those will dissipate over time, which is good. So, on my mold, I'm going to spray with a little bit of alcohol just to, because we do have this lip, and we all know that right angles love bubbles. So I'm going to try to keep that from happening as much as possible because I don't want to punish the resin for something that is the mold's fault. And I think I'm just going to go for clear. Well, actually, I will add a little bit of color to it. Looks like I've mixed it in pretty well. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do my lid first. There's that. Scoot him out of the way. And I might not have enough to fill up this whole thing. I should have made, I should have made more. I forgot how big this mold is. So I'm going to make up just a tiny bit more Okay, so what I'm going to do, spray that with a little alcohol, and then I'm just going to pour the clear on top, and what this will do is it'll mix those two colors together, and hopefully we'll get a cool pattern, you know? And this is another 2 ounces that I mixed up, by the way, because I had forgotten that, again, this mold was so big. So that's my fault. All right. So there we have it. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. See how everything degasses. It looks like it's degassing on its own beautifully. Pretty clear. Very clear. Not seeing any bubbles clinging, which is nice. So I'll keep an eye on it and let you guys know what's doing when it's time for demold. See you soon. All right, guys, it's time to demold. So looking at it in the mold still, I'm very impressed with the clarity of it, which is nice. So let's get the lid out. Ooh, looks like we got some micro bubbles. But overall, not terrible. I have some trimming to do around the edges, of course, but pretty clear. Pretty clear. Alright, so let's go for this one and see how it turned out. Again, it demolds nicely, no sticky bits. It is a bit bendy, but that's okay. In this mold, that's actually not a bad thing because sometimes it can be a trick to get out. So let's see. Now I do see micro bubbles, and a few of them. Now, I don't know if that's because it is warm in here and it's curing faster than normal or what. That's one thing that I wanted to try on this bowl is because, you know, micro bubbles. That's why I wanted to do flat and this in the bowl just to see what the difference is. So I'm not sure about that. I mean, it's pretty. It's clear. You know, the color is clear. But, you know, we do have microbubbles. So, initial thoughts, it's a nice resin. It's got a good viscosity. I think if it, you know, I'm going to have to try it when it cools down in here a little bit to see if that helps with the microbubble situation. I did spray it with alcohol on top just to dissipate those bubbles. I did go around the mold with my silicone tool to help, you know, remove bubbles from the edges or the lip. So yeah, I'm going to have to see how the microbubbles react if it gets a bit cooler in here, just to see if it is perhaps it just cured faster, you know, than normal. Because I started filming at, what did I say, 7:30? And it is now 11:45. So it took about 4 hours for this to be able to be demolded, and they say in their literature that it's an 8-hour demold. So I'm thinking that it just cured a little fast, and that's why we had some bubbles trapped in there. So I like the resin. I do. I think it's very nice. I'm going to try it with stuff in it, additives, you know, mica powders, glitters, things like that. But I wanted to do this first one in clear, just to give an idea of the clarity of it. It's not cloudy at all. It is a very clear resin. It's just those microbubbles, and that just might be curing faster than normal because it is, of course, the middle of summer. So, more tests to come. We shall see. But initial reactions, I like it. It's a good resin. I enjoy the spouts. On the bottles are big. The 1 gallon bottles are big and they are heavy. But they also have a half-gallon version for the bottles to be a little bit smaller. The bottles have markings on the sides of them for measuring, so you can see through the bottles, so you can see how much you've got left. I like that the bottles are 2 different colors, so you know immediately what's A and what's B. It mixes well. It seems to have a good working time. So yeah, overall, initially, I'm pleased with it. I just think that the microbubbles have to do with the heat as it is right now and curing a little bit faster than it should. So what I might do for my next experiment is make my project and then stick it into my spare refrigerator to slow down the curing process and see if that helps. So far so good. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here with me. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you again for the next one. Take care, guys. Cheers.